Last night, Dr. Evelyn Carter stared at the monitor, heart racing.
I/Atlas had just passed the sun, but what came next shattered every prediction. Engineer Mason Riley whispered, "This cannot be real." Across the globe, telescopes and satellites caught the same impossible phenomenon. Brightness surged, color shifted to a strange blue, and instruments screamed data that no model could explain. Something extraordinary was happening, and humanity was witnessing it blind, yet unavoidable.
The countdown has begun, and no one is ready for what comes next.
Before we start, hit like and tell us where you're watching from, and your support helps us explore NASA's biggest mysteries.
Dr. Evelyn Carter could barely keep her eyes off the monitors as the data poured in. 3I/Atlas had just passed the sun, and what the instruments recorded defied everything humanity had known about interstellar objects. Solar flares rippled unpredictably, bending and twisting toward the comet as though the sun itself had noticed its visitor. Engineer Mason Riley leaned closer, his voice barely a whisper. "This is not possible," he said, yet every sensor, every reading confirmed it. Satellites across multiple orbits captured the anomaly simultaneously, from Stereo A to SOHO, from GO-19 to independent observatories. Brightness surged at a pace no comet should ever achieve, and the color shifted to an unusual deep blue, far beyond the solar spectrum. Every team watching was left questioning their own understanding of physics. Dr. Carter's hands trembled as she compared the readings, recalibrated the instruments, checked for interference, anything that might explain what they were seeing. There was nothing. No error, no fluke, just a raw, undeniable anomaly in the heart of our solar system. Analysts in labs across the world were frantically sharing real-time telemetry, their messages tinged with disbelief and urgency. What made this more unsettling was the timing. The object had passed the sun during solar conjunction, hidden from Earth-based telescopes, invisible in the glare of the star. Yet the spacecraft, perfectly positioned to see what the human eye could not, recorded it all. The luminosity of 3I/Atlas did not rise gradually as expected. It exploded in brightness with a scaling law that conventional cometary physics could not explain. Instruments reported data points increasing exponentially, a curve so steep it made seasoned astronomers pause, recheck their calculations, and question the very models they had relied upon for decades. The comet's envelope, measured at roughly 300,000 kilometers, was emitting its own light, not just reflecting the sun's. It stretched far beyond what could be explained by normal outgassing or dust scattering, a glowing shell larger than 25 Earths placed side by side. Yet there was more. The color readings indicated a shift toward shorter wavelengths, an intensity and hue no natural comet in the solar system could produce. Multiple instruments, designed differently, calibrated independently, reported the same result. Stereo A, SOHO, GO-19 all converged on the same phenomenon. There was no room for coincidence. Even the most skeptical observers began to whisper possibilities that sounded like science fiction. Unusual chemistry, unknown interstellar materials, or even fragments of something artificial responding to the sun's energy. Every frame, every dataset, every metric added weight to a single terrifying truth. 3I/Atlas was not behaving like anything humanity had ever catalogued. For Dr. Carter and her team, it was more than just another passing object. It was a wake-up call, a challenge to decades of astrophysical knowledge. Across the globe, experts shared raw footage, reanalyzed photometry, and exchanged theories in hushed tones. They debated what could produce such a steep brightness curve, what could emit blue light at this intensity, and how the sun itself seemed to react, almost as if acknowledging the visitor. As Mason Riley updated the central database, he realized the world would see these findings in a few days, but what they were witnessing in real time was far beyond ordinary comprehension. Humanity was seeing something extraordinary, and the questions were multiplying faster than the answers. The countdown had begun. In 5 weeks, 3I/Atlas would reemerge into Earth's view, and no one knew if what came next would be merely remarkable, or something that would challenge everything we thought we understood about interstellar space. For now, The instruments continued to record, the data continued to scream, and the mystery grew, pulling everyone who watched deeper into the uncharted territory of the sun's reaction to an object no one could predict. Every second held a revelation, every number a question, and every observation made one thing clear. Humanity had never witnessed anything like this before, and nothing would prepare anyone for what was coming next. As the initial shock began to settle, Dr. Carter and Mason Riley turned their attention to the data in even greater detail. The readings from Stereo A, SOHO, and GO19 were staggering, each dataset confirming the others, leaving no room for doubt or error. The comet's brightness did not simply spike. It surged in a precise, exponential pattern, a behavior never observed in any comet before. Dr. Carter compared the values against every known cometary model from Halley to Borisov, yet nothing matched. Every calculation returned the same impossible conclusion. 3I/Atlas was defying conventional physics. The scientists began mapping the luminous envelope, noting how it expanded at a speed that seemed almost conscious, reaching hundreds of thousands of kilometers across, dwarfing anything the team had ever charted. Instruments detected wavelengths of blue light far beyond normal cometary emissions, and the intensity suggested the object was radiating its own energy, not merely reflecting sunlight. Mason Riley ran simulations, adjusting for every variable they could consider: dust, gas emissions, solar wind, but the results remained irreconcilable. Across the control room, every team member was silent, each processing the same reality. The sun appeared to be reacting. Not in some metaphorical sense, but physically. Magnetic field lines twisted unusually around the area of the comet's trajectory. Solar flares pulsed in alignment with its path, and coronal mass ejections seemed subtly redirected, as if the sun acknowledged this visitor. Across the globe, other observatories confirmed anomalies. In Chile, the Atacama Large Millimeter Array noted unusual radio signatures coinciding with the perihelion event. In Hawaii, Mauna Kea's optical telescopes observed microvariations in the solar corona that matched patterns seen in the spacecraft datasets. Analysts working in Germany, Japan, and the United States were suddenly communicating constantly, sharing plots, spectra, and simulation data in real time. Each new piece of information deepened the mystery. How could an interstellar object interact with the sun in such a measurable way without any obvious physical mechanism? Engineers speculated on unusual materials or unknown physics. The data indicated energy being emitted from 3I/Atlas itself, interacting with the solar environment at scales no model predicted. Dr. Carter realized that what they were seeing might not only rewrite cometary science but also affect our understanding of interstellar materials and solar physics. Mason Riley calculated that the power output inferred from the blue light alone was orders of magnitude beyond typical cometary activity, something more akin to a small stellar flare concentrated within the object. Conversations across the scientific community shifted from curiosity to cautious alarm. Headlines could not yet be written, but in private, experts were asking questions they had never imagined asking. Was 3I/Atlas a natural object, or something engineered? Could the sun's apparent response indicate interactions we had never theorized? As hours turned into a full day of observations, the patterns remained consistent. The three spacecraft, each orbiting differently, captured the same trajectory, brightness curves, and spectral anomalies. No single instrument showed a deviation, no measurement could be dismissed. Dr. Carter's team prepared to release preliminary data to other research groups for independent verification, knowing that if confirmed, this would be one of the most significant events in modern astrophysics. Mason Riley leaned back in exhaustion, but he could not look away. The comet's glow persisted, an otherworldly blue halo in the data streams, pulsing with a rhythm that suggested interaction rather than mere motion. Every second that passed deepened the question, every measurement pushed the boundaries of understanding. For humanity, this was not just another interstellar visitor. It was a challenge to our comprehension, a puzzle that demanded immediate attention and a reconsideration of everything we thought we knew. And while the world below remained unaware, the instruments continued to track, log, and illuminate the impossible, leaving the team with one undeniable conclusion. 3I/Atlas was not just passing. It was rewriting the rules, and there was no precedent for what would happen next. Dr. Carter and Mason Riley could hardly believe what they were seeing as they dove into the color and brightness data of 3I/Atlas. The object's blue hue was not subtle or fleeting. It was intense, consistent across multiple instruments, and sharply distinct from the sun's spectrum. Photometry confirmed it with Stereo A SOHO and Go-19 all independently recording the same measurements. The implications were staggering. No known comet reflected or emitted light in this way. Dust and ice particles alone could not account for this emission. It suggested energy generation, some process unknown, interacting with solar radiation in a manner that defied every cometary model. The team ran simulations late into the night, recalculating photon flux, albedo, and emission coefficients, but every number returned the same impossible result. Mason's voice was tight with tension as he spoke. It's producing energy. On its own. Dr. Carter's mind raced. If true, this would not only rewrite the physics of comets but challenge our understanding of interstellar objects entirely. Across the globe, other observatories corroborated the anomaly. In Chile, infrared sensors recorded a faint thermal signature aligned with the blue emission, while radio telescopes detected minor fluctuations in frequency coinciding with the perihelion passage. No natural explanation satisfied all datasets simultaneously. Teams in Japan and Germany compared notes, each group cautiously confirming the results, wary of jumping to conclusions yet unable to ignore the consistency. Meanwhile, the sun itself seemed to respond. Magnetometers on SOHO and Go-19 noted subtle deviations in field lines along the comet's path. Flare activity increased marginally, timed with 3I/Atlas's closest approach, as if the star's surface and corona were reacting. The idea seemed impossible, yet the measurements were precise, repeatable, and verifiable. As Dr. Carter plotted the luminosity curve, she realized the steep power law increase, already unprecedented in Part 2, was not a single spike but a continuing trend. Brightness scaled faster than any known comet, accelerating in a pattern that no sublimation or dust reflection could explain. Mason cross-referenced the timing with solar activity indices. There was no correlation with sunspot cycles, no pattern in CME occurrences that could account for the emission. It was as if 3I/Atlas itself dictated the sun's local behavior. Engineers and physicists whispered in the control room about the possibilities. Exotic chemistry, unknown interstellar compounds, or even fragments of artificial material responding to extreme radiation. The spectroscopic signatures hinted at elements that were rare in natural comets, unusual isotopic ratios, or perhaps unknown structures entirely. Every theory opened more questions than it answered. By now, other teams were analyzing the motion of the luminous envelope. Its expansion rate, coupled with the energy output, suggested a mechanism beyond conventional physics. It was not merely being pushed by solar wind. Something within 3I/Atlas was actively influencing its surroundings. Dr. Carter glanced at Mason, both aware that the implications stretched far beyond comet science. If confirmed, this object represented either a natural phenomenon of unprecedented scale or evidence of interstellar technology disguised as a comet. Across observatories worldwide, analysts coordinated late-night data comparisons, each message carrying a mix of excitement and dread. The object was invisible to ground-based telescopes during perihelion, yet spacecraft captured every frame, every photon, every spectral shift. Humanity was watching an event that could redefine the way we understand solar and interstellar physics, and no one was prepared. As the hours ticked on, each data packet, each recalibration, only confirmed one undeniable truth. 3I/Atlas was not behaving like anything in our history books. Every graph, every curve, every anomaly screamed the same message. The rules were being rewritten. Dr. Carter exhaled slowly, staring at the screens filled with blue-tinted light, exponential curves, and magnetic anomalies. Mason muttered, "We're witnessing something that could change everything we thought we knew about interstellar objects." And he was right. Nothing about this event was normal. Nothing about this data fit into the models that humanity had relied upon for centuries. For the first time, the teams realized that what had passed near the sun was not just an object. It was a phenomenon, alive in its own way, challenging everything about physics, astronomy, and perhaps even our place in the cosmos. As the world's telescopes and spacecraft continued to feed data, Dr. Evelyn Carter and Mason Riley realized that the anomalies of 3I/Atlas were far more intricate than anyone had imagined. The blue luminosity persisted, not flickering or fading, but pulsing in a rhythm that seemed almost deliberate. Every instrument, from Stereo A's heliospheric imagers to Soho's LASCO C3, showed the same pattern. The team began to quantify the pulse, measuring its frequency and intensity across multiple wavelengths, and the results were staggering. It was as if the object emitted energy in bursts, interacting directly with the sun's magnetic field. Solar flares along its trajectory seemed synchronized with the object's pulses, and coronal structures shifted subtly in response. Mason ran simulations comparing normal comet outgassing with the observed data, and every model failed. No known physics could replicate the energy output or the apparent influence on the surrounding solar environment. Dr. Carter leaned back in her chair, rubbing her eyes. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," she muttered. Global teams began connecting in real time, sharing process data, raw frames, and spectroscopic readings. Each confirmation only deepened the mystery. In Chile, radio telescopes detected faint bursts that coincided with the object's closest approach. In Japan, optical arrays recorded subtle changes in the corona that matched the spacecraft readings. Across 3 continents, experts were converging on one chilling conclusion: 3I/Atlas was not behaving like a natural object. The luminous envelope measured over 300,000 kilometers continued to expand, and its intensity suggested that energy generation was internal, not a result of reflected sunlight. Analysts debated the mechanisms: chemical reactions, exotic isotopes, or an unknown physical process, but every theory seemed inadequate. Dr. Carter's team examined the photometry more closely, comparing filter ratios across instruments. The object's spectral output was sharply concentrated in the blue, with shorter wavelengths dominating far beyond expectations. Every calibration, every potential instrumental artifact was accounted for, and yet the anomaly persisted. Mason looked at the trajectory data and realized something else. The motion was subtly irregular. Not chaotic, but deliberate in a way that hinted at internal activity rather than passive orbital mechanics. Questions of origin and purpose began creeping into scientific discussions, even as caution demanded restraint. Could it be a fragment of alien technology, reacting to the sun in a manner no natural material could? Or was it a natural phenomenon entirely unknown, a glimpse of physics humanity had never observed? The implications were immense. Dr. Carter began preparing a detailed report, meticulously documenting each measurement, each curve, each anomaly. She knew that if this data held up, textbooks would be rewritten, conferences would be convened, and scientists would scramble to explain a reality that no current model could predict. Meanwhile, the pulse of blue light continued, steady yet incomprehensible, as if the object were alive in some sense, communicating through radiation and magnetic influence. Mason calculated that the energy output exceeded the brightest known comets by orders of magnitude, and yet it maintained stability. The team's discussions grew intense, balancing skepticism with awe. Across the scientific community, online forums buzzed with speculation, papers were drafted, and private communications warned against premature conclusions. Yet the pattern remained undeniable. 3I/Atlas was not just brightening, it was interacting, influencing, and challenging the very definitions of cometary physics. The sun itself seemed to acknowledge its presence, responding in ways no one had predicted. As hours turned into days, the pulse, the color, and the motion continued unabated. Dr. Carter stared at the monitors, the data filling the room with a hypnotic glow. Mason whispered, "We're witnessing something that might rewrite everything we know about the solar system." Outside, the world remained unaware of the magnitude of the phenomenon unfolding in real time. But for the team tracking, analyzing, and recording, one truth was unavoidable. 3I/Atlas was no ordinary visitor. It was a challenge, a puzzle, and a signal that humanity's understanding of interstellar objects, solar physics, and possibly even the rules of energy and matter was about to be tested in ways no one could have imagined. As the days passed, Dr. Evelyn Carter and Mason Riley realized the full magnitude of what 3I/Atlas had done. The data streams from every spacecraft were consistent, undeniable, and yet completely inexplicable. The blue pulses of light persisted, synchronized in ways that no natural comet should have been capable of. Magnetometers recorded subtle but measurable disturbances in the sun's field, and solar flares appeared to align with the comet's trajectory, as if the star itself was responding to the visitor. Every measurement, every frame, every photon told the same story. This was not a simple interstellar object. It emitted energy, influenced its surroundings, and challenged decades of astronomical understanding. Dr. Carter meticulously mapped the luminous envelope, calculating the energy output and distribution. Hundreds of thousands of kilometers of glowing blue light stretched around the object, radiating at intensities far beyond any known cometary activity. The team compared the photometry across all instruments, confirming that the blue light dominated the spectrum in a way no natural process could reproduce. Even the most conservative simulations failed to replicate what was observed. Mason Riley ran model after model, adjusting for sublimation, gas jets, and even hypothetical exotic particles. Nothing matched. The behavior suggested internal processes, something actively interacting with solar energy, perhaps even directing the envelope's expansion. Teams around the world began sharing their findings, each independently confirming anomalies that were once thought impossible. The chorus of verification was growing, and yet no consensus emerged. The scientific community was divided between astonishment and cautious disbelief. Some theorized a fragment of advanced alien material, engineered to react to radiation. Others suggested a natural phenomenon beyond the limits of current physics, a new class of interstellar object that challenged fundamental assumptions. Dr. Carter and Mason Riley debated the possibilities, weighing evidence against theory, but every answer opened 10 new questions. The sun's apparent reaction was subtle yet measurable. Solar magnetic field lines shifted, local flare activity increased slightly, and the corona displayed patterns that aligned with the object's passage. These were not anomalies in the instruments, they were real interactions, recorded across multiple platforms, each independent, each undeniable. Across continents, scientists exchanged data, reanalyzed spectra, recalculated trajectories, and verified energy outputs. The object's pulse, color, brightness, and motion all told a single, shocking story. Humanity had never seen anything like this, and perhaps it had never existed in our scientific understanding before. Dr. Carter stared at the monitors in awe, Mason Riley beside her, both aware that the next closest approach in 5 weeks could reveal even more. The implications were staggering. Could this object hold secrets about interstellar chemistry, exotic materials, or even intelligence far beyond our comprehension? Every data point demanded reconsideration of models thought secure for decades. Instruments continued recording relentlessly, capturing every shift, every pulse, every nuance of this extraordinary phenomenon. The world might remain unaware, but in those control rooms, humanity faced a reality it was unprepared for. 3I/Atlas was not just a visitor. It was a harbinger of discovery, a challenge to understanding, and a demonstration that the cosmos was far stranger than anyone could imagine. Dr. Carter whispered to Mason, "We are witnessing history." Mason nodded silently, eyes glued to the screens. The countdown to the next observation had begun, and nothing would be the same. Across labs, observatories, and satellites, a single truth resonated: whatever came next, 3I/Atlas had rewritten the rules, and humanity's view of the solar system, the sun, and interstellar space would never be the same. The mystery was not over, but the record was clear. The comet, or whatever it truly was, had proven one thing. The universe still held secrets that could astonish, challenge, and transform human understanding in ways we had only imagined.